Hey there crafters, it's Joy here, and today I created a fall card using tons of fun things: stamps, dies, foil plate, and watercolor pencils. I'm going to start with my background, and I took sentiments and put them on an acrylic block. All of these sentiments are from the Mini Messages Fall Sentiments. I didn't use all of them, but I did use ones. Just grabbed some specific ones. I am using Honeybee Stamps white pigment ink, and I'm just going to create a background, a sentiment background. Like if you were to use a whole sentiment background, I guess, I'm doing the same thing, and I'm just going to line them up differently as I'm going down. It does not need to be perfect. This is just going to be part of our background. I am then going to set this aside to dry, and we're going to do something else to this background after this is all dry. So really super quick and easy. I think it's easier with an acrylic block than it is with a Misty, but you could do it with a Misty. You would just move your paper up or down accordingly. Okay, I have the Lovely Layers Mums here die cut, and I am using Distress Watercolor pencils. This is Seedless Preserves, and the coloring is going to look bad. Right now, I'm just trying to get color onto my images here. I'm using a little bit of water to blend it out, but you can see the coloring is not great. It's not meant to be. If you need something more refined, then take a little more time to color it, really blend it out with the water. I'm not worried about that. I am adding darker areas on the petals that have the embossed lines because those are ones that are really going to show. Using a little bit of water on my work surface, a small paintbrush, and I am just getting the color on here. When I'm all done doing this, then I will come back and I'll show you and go over it a little bit more. This kind of has like a sketched look to me, and I like that. Again, if you need something a little more solid, don't go so dark like I'm going here. Just color the whole thing lightly, or color the whole thing dark and then really blend it out with water. I am in the lighter areas. I'm just coloring it because I don't want it white, because when I glue my Lovely Layers together, I only glue in the center. On the little not completely open, like the buds, not buds, but not fully open flowers, I am going to be using Spiced Marmalade and Ripe Persimmon for the darker areas. And I have two of these flowers. I'm not going to show all of them. I'm just going to show you briefly. Again, the coloring looks a little less of a hot mess than the full open mum. But again, like I mentioned, do it how you want to do it. This is kind of the look that I'm going for, so I like how this looks. There's some of that Ripe Persimmon. I'm going to blend that out at the bottom. And remember, these are going to be layered, so you're only going to see parts and pieces of these back ones. This is the front one. I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Then we have our leaves here, and I am using Rustic Wilderness. And I just followed all of the veins, and then I'm going to blend down. Again, I'm going to come back through, and I'll show you here in just a second what we're going to do. Now I'm going to go back to these flowers, and I'm going, because the cardstock is still a little bit wet, when you color over it, it colors less streaky. And I'm coloring a little bit more softly, but I'm darkening the areas where I wanted it to be dark to begin with. I'm not really so worried about the center of the flower, just kind of all of the leaves. And you can see that it just softens all of those areas, all of the petals of the leaves. And the same thing with the leaf here. I'm just going over it softly, and it's adding more color and less of that streaky look. Then I'm going to use Distress Spritz. This is Seedless Preserves, Spiced Marmalade, and then I am using Mowed Lawn. Okay, now that our background is dry, I'm going to take the Ombre Dots hot foil plate, and I have the thickest part of the dots down at the bottom. I am going to use some Aura foil. It's gold. It has like this just beautiful color to it. I love it. It's like this little iridescence to it. I'm going to use my Glimmer hot foil system, so I'm going to put that in place, let this get heated up. I'm going to put my plates on top, pull it out of the docking station, run that through my die cut machine. I like to go forward and backward just slowly. And I will say, I did not get a perfect foil on this, and I had taped the foil plate to the top. I could have done it again. I wasn't overly worried about it. The flowers already look a little bit distressed, so I didn't mind that every dot was not perfect. But if you needed it to be, you would keep your plate still attached, just add another piece of foil and gently fold your plate back over. It should fold right back into place, and you can run it through again. And I started on craft cardstock. I had put a shim in and everything. It sometimes, you know, depending on your cardstock you use, it just doesn't always come out perfect. Totally fine. Now we're gluing our large mum together. Oh, and there was 2 stems I did not show. I colored them the same green. Really super simple. Or 3 stems, excuse me. I actually used the large stem for my smaller flowers for my card design because that's what it called for. They did have littler stems, but it wouldn't make sense with what I was doing here. So again, I only glue in the center. On these ones, I'm just gluing at the bottom. I do that because I like the dimension that not gluing every petal down gives you. So you get some automatic dimension without foam adhesive. It gives your flower a more realistic look. Then we have our little pieces of greenery here that you place at the bottom. How pretty are those? I love how these turned out. And with the spritz of the shimmer flakes, it gives them a nice, fun, shimmery color. I'm going to do 1 millimeter foam adhesive behind my large flower. I'm going to place it up here at the top and then glue my stem down. And I will trim anything off the bottom that's going to be hanging over or off the sides. I'm going to trim that down. Then I'm going to use 3 of the 4 leaves that I colored. And I'm just trying to get my layout here. This leaf I am going to glue a little more flat because my flower is going to go over that. But the other 2 leaves I'm just gluing at the base because, again, that little bit of natural lift gives you dimension on your card. So if you're someone that, you know, wants to glue everything flat down, you don't have to. You can let the ends stay up because, again, it just gives you a little bit more of that fun dimension. All right, let me get these other 2 little guys down here. I love this card. I love how these flowers turned out. And then I can just place these guys over here, just trimming down my stems as needed. And I'm going to tuck that one under the other one. Fun fall colors too. I love it. I'm stamping my sentiment from the Mini Messages Fall sentiments, and I'm going to just trim those out when I'm done. But the sentiment is long and it says, "Give thanks for you today and always," but I'm going to need to trim that in half. So that's what I did. I trimmed it after the "Give thanks for you" and then have the "today and always." I have 2 millimeter foam adhesive behind that, and I'm just going to stagger the sentiments. How cute is that? And then I decided to use Fall is in the Air gem stickers, and I'm going to place a few of those around to give it a little something extra. And then this card will be adhered to a white A2 size card base, but let's take a look at this up close here in just a minute. If you didn't want to use watercolor pencils, you could just blend with ink or use like some alcohol ink markers. Look at how pretty it is. I love that background. It has some foiling and it has that sentiment all over the background. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope you feel inspired by this card, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.